So I'm super excited to talk today about how to master your online lead generation for roofing leads and how to really generate more roofing leads in 2025. So really excited to showcase this to you today. Worked really hard on the presentation to really show you the best strategies today, show you many different case studies that we talk about and really how to really grow your business in 2025, right? Because the landscape is always changing, especially online, right? So the first thing I want you guys to understand is I want you really to imagine this scenario, right? What would your life look like if you could consistently generate roofing leads every single month? Consistent roof repair leads, roof replacement leads. What would your life look like if you can consistently generate, 10 to 50, 100, 200 inbound leads a month, right? We're going to show you specific strategies that we use that our clients are using today to really help you generate more roofing leads for your business, right? And obviously, we're going to be talking about where there's nothing for sale, and I'm not going to be selling anything, right? But if you at the end of the presentation, if you want to learn more about how we can work together, just schedule a call with our one of our national marketing consultants. They can talk about how we do this for you guys. But this is just nothing for sale, right? This is nothing for sale, nothing for good for you guys. But I just want to want you guys to understand what we're going to be doing, right? I really want you to imagine that scenario for your business because we're going to talk about specific strategies you can use today to really help grow your business, right? What would you do, right? If you had more salespeople, if you had more, if you would you hire more my sales manager? What would you do with your business if you had all these inbound leads that are coming in, especially with the changes in the economy, right? So who is this for? This is for any company owner, roofing company owner, any contracted business that wants to grow their business. There's nothing for sale. There's no hype. This is really good strategy that can help you grow your business. It's pure content, right? A lot of education, right? A lot of things that we talk about are things that we're actively doing today, right? Things that are actually working today. Some things that have been working in the past, present, and the future, right? So these are things that we're going to talk about that's going to be serve as a foundation to really grow your business online because I know a lot of contractors are really struggling with to generate leads online, right? So we're going to talk about this today and how to really grow your business in 2025, right? A little bit about us, RMP by the numbers. I started the company in 2017. In that time frame, we generated over 170,000 inbound leads. So that's a little outdated right now. So 170,000 inbound leads for our clients, resulted in 500 million in sales for that in that time frame. I a little bit back on myself. I actually about myself. I actually started the company in 2017, right? But I worked in construction for a couple of years, right? So I studied civil engineering in college. I thought I was going to be an engineer. I thought I was going to construction. I worked for a general contractor for a couple of years. After college, I decided that it wasn't for me. Then I decided to get into sales. And really during that time frame, probably like around 2010, which is a while ago, 15 years ago, I started really getting into online marketing because I really wanted to kind of live the digital laptop nomad style, right? So that's something that's kind of much more common today than it was in 2010, but it's something that I really interested in, right? So I started really researching, started building websites myself, started doing SEO, started creating Amazon websites, started creating all these different things. I just started learning myself, tinkering myself, and then finally in 2015, I quit my job, right, regular job, and I started to strike on my own. I freelanced for a couple years, right? I freelanced for a couple years and I started working in different industries. I just, as a digital marketing consultant. And then eventually I decided to start an agency and focus specifically on the roofing industry because I saw a big opportunity, right? I know people in the industry. I have a construction background. So I just decided that this was a good opportunity because of the length of time that's taken to adapt, right? People in the construction, even today, still haven't really adapted, right? So it's taking a long time to get to this level, but it's really worth it to show the things that we've been doing for our clients, right? So why online marketing is the future of roofing lead generation, right? So this is something that's a statement that is not really, relevant, right? It's really important. Everybody knows this is the case, right? Over 90% of roofing jobs begins with an online search. So it's extremely important how you appear online, right? Especially today. People are actively looking for roofing services, for contracting services online more than ever today, right? So obviously, in terms of like the leads, right? Word of mouth, right? Referrals, and even door knocking, which is something that's been around for a long time. Those types of leads are always going to be better, right? In terms of online, like, but it doesn't have the same volume, right? referrals are going to be the best type of leads, especially as a service-based business. 30% of your leads should come from referrals, right? So those are leads are always going to be the golden leads, right? But how you build that up is by getting more customers, right? By getting more customers, right? So that's how you do that, right? So what you want to do is if you see that screenshot that I show you on the screen, you want to be the number one contractor in the area, typically, right? In your city, in your market, right? How to be the celebrity roofer, how to be the number one roofer, right? And I'm going to show you specific strategies on how to do this approach. We're going to show you a 360 approach, not only from the organic side, right? Long term, but also short term, we can start generating leads right away. You don't have to wait, 6 to 8 months for SEO, right? So the first thing we talk about, and this is something that really, even today, right, 2025, this is Google Business Profile, right, has only grown in importance the last few years. It's been free, right? It's a free thing tool that you can use. But basically, what it's done, right, it's really replaced the yellow pages, right? So anybody who's been in business for a long time understands that the number one directory for businesses that advertised before was the yellow pages, right? It's like online directory people can search online. Now that's been replaced by Google My Business, right? And it was Yelp for a long time, right? It's similar service, but at the end of the day, Google My Business is number one, is becoming more and more important today. So it's really the foundation of online presence. So start with this today. It's free, right? It doesn't take a long time to get started, but it's the first thing you should do to focus on your online efforts, especially if you're a startup, right? But even if you're not a startup or you've been in business for a long time, most of the time, most of the people I see do not have this presence online, right? Where they're actually leveraging their Google Business Profile to generate a lot of leads, right? I'm going to show you a couple examples of clients that are actively leveraging Google Business Profile to generate organic inbound leads, right? Organic inbound leads are very high quality, right? They're very good. You're not paying for them, right? And typically they're more they've done the more research, right? They're higher quality because they've done more research, right? So an example, right, of a client from last year to this year, 700% increase in organic growth, right? So 112 phone calls, right, in one location, right, in 1 month, just gives you an idea of the impact. I'm not even counting like the website leads, all that stuff, just 112 calls in that time frame. Now, what that shows you, obviously, these are not all leads, right? These are not all inbound phone calls, but a lot of them were inbound phone calls, right? People searching, they finding the maps and they call you, right? That's where you want to be, right? This is another basically interaction of another client where they've increased tremendously the last, 5 months, 6 months, right? So you see this, right? Well, at the end of the day, you want to have like a foundational piece of your online presence is having this where people search you locally, right? People are looking locally to find your Google Business Profile, right? And in order to have this like active and really getting working for you, there's several things you have to do. First, you have to have your name, address, and phone number with the correct information, right? Make sure your business description is really up to date. It has really compelling content. Actually provides really good information. Also, you have your product section. What we do typically is since we work with service-based businesses, we highlight their services and put them as products, right? It just makes your profile pop out. And also we do we add a lot of images, right? I add a lot of images to the Google Business Profile. And what these images do is just kind of establish more credibility, establish your work. And we also geotag the photos with the correct latitude and longitude. And at the same time, we also create Google Business Profile posts, right? This is something that you can do, right? That can really just make sure that you're actually doing this. Typically, we post on each location, depending on the package, right, between 8 and 16 posts a month, right? You don't want to do more than 16 posts typically because you could get flagged, right? You don't want to be posting 3 times a day because that can really cause issues with the Google, right? So these are the foundational piece. The other thing you have to do is obviously reviews, extremely important. I'm going to talk about specifically about that. Citations, building citations and backlinks to your profile, uh, connecting your profile to the location page, right? So for example, if you have several locations, right, in your website, you connect each location page to the profile of your Google Business Profile, right? That's also important. If you see this right there, this is where you want to be, right? You want to be at the top of the three pack, right? And you get, what we do is we call it Google's Big Four, right? Google's Big Four is Google Local Service Ads, what I'm going to talk about in a second, the Google Maps, which is second, right? Google sponsored ads and also Google Ads, right? And then also the SEO, the search features, right? These are all things that you do that really help drive more visibility, more leads for your business, right? Reviews, right? So you look at the top 10 factors, right? So if I ask you if they come to me and Mauricio, I want to rank for my Google My Business profile, what are the top things I need to do? Well, you have to understand the first thing that Google does. The first thing is product category, right? So what service category, your primary service category. So I'll give you an example, right? So if you are a roofing contractor, right? You cannot rank for, it's not going to be ranking for plumbing, right? Because you're categorized as a roofing contractor. So anybody is looking for a plumbing contractor, you're not going to rank for that, right? So it's a category you're in, right? So right, correct business category. So you make sure you have that in place. Typically, like a lot of clients are general contractors, so they have, different services they have, but typically they want more roofing leads. So primary category we have as roofing contractor. We can do a secondary category and add them as well, but that's the number one thing. Secondly, right, is location, right? Having a location-based office space is extremely important and getting ranked, right? So you want to be a physical location, right? Google's really changed in the last few years, where they're not really prioritizing service-based areas for GMB. You can still create a new GMB with with the service space if you don't have an office, but it's not gonna really rank as well as having a physical location. So before, and I remember doing this myself, you can have a Google business profile and have an active, have basically your home as serve as the office. Now, Google is really cracking down on that, and they're really just making the verification process much more difficult, right? Where you can have to submit videos, you have to submit, sometimes a postcard or do a phone verification. They just want to make sure that the location is actual physical location on office, right? So there's ways around that, right? I mean, we could talk about that another space, but basically, you could do is like have a an office, right, with a closet and just having a sign out there, right? It's another thing that you can do, right? But that's the thing, right? That thirdly, right, three of the top 10 rankings are actually reviews, right? The amount of reviews you're getting, the quality of reviews you're getting, right? If you're adding having pictures on the reviews, having lengthy reviews that are really service based, right? Having local reviews. What I mean by that is that if you're in Nashville, Tennessee, right, Chattanooga, Tennessee, the person's actually in Chattanooga, not the person in Seattle. That review doesn't really count as well. And also the frequency of reviews, right? Uh, it's more actually more benefit. Like if you're getting 50 review, if you get like 50 reviews in 3 months, right, versus 50 reviews in one day. You actually get better results if you do 50 reviews in 3 months, right? So the point is, right, its reviews are extremely important, right? So this is just a QR code you can use, right? Google does this already. Just makes it super simple for you to for your customers to leave a review. So making sure you make this part of your process, right? Make sure that you have your sales reps, right? Your team members just leave reviews, right? It just makes a bigger factor where your sales reps ask your customers for reviews. Very, very important factor, right? So we talked about Google Business Profile, Google Maps, reviews. Now let's talk about the foundation of your online presence, which is your website, right? So most people think of a website just something that as a storefront, but at the end of the day, what we think as a website is a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week lead machine, right? So that's what you got to think about, right? So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week lead generation machine. That's what the whole goal of this, right? So basically, with your website, it has to be built for conversions, not just aesthetics. So typically, when you build a website, you want to make sure that you are seen as an expert and authority, right? And you also have a fast loading site that loads fast and correctly built the right platform, but at the same time is also driven for conversions, right? So just an example, right? It's aesthetically pleasing. We have headshots. A big difference on the aesthetics is having professional pictures. It makes a huge difference. I highly recommend you hire a photographer to take professional pictures of your team, of yourself, headshots, right, of your projects. These are all things you can add on the website that really make a big impact on how it looks. And definitely, I guarantee you, this makes an impact on conversions, right? So having call to actions throughout the website, having really good content throughout the website, photos and images of your actual projects that you're working on, right? These are all things that really make a difference on your website and how it looks, right? Another thing you can do, right? So we're going to talk about the website. We're going to talk about SEO, right? Which is the second thing, is how to improve the visibility. But once you get traffic to your website, the thing about that is you have to make it convert. How do you generate leads? Because at the end of the day, people are investing in a website to generate leads, right? So we use different tools, right? Our clients are use different tools, and one of the ones that we recommend, right? We use different lead magnets to just basically help you generate leads. Tools like Roofer, tools like Roofle are online estimate softwares that can really provide a lot of information to your customers to make it much simpler for them to actually make a decision on the roofs, right? Another thing you can do, right, is having AI chatbots which are really responsive today, really advanced, that really can help have a really big impact on your actual conversions and schedule appointments. If you're actively getting, we have clients that are getting 10 to 20,000 website visitors a month, right? That makes a big difference because a lot of those people are when they're visiting your website. Not everybody wants an inbound call, right? Nobody wants to call. Some people they want to have a chat, right? Or they want to fill out a form. So at the end of the day, what you try to do on a website is you will try to give them at least three forms of communication, right? So three forms of communication include, people can call, right? Or people can fill out a form or people can actually chat with somebody, right? Because people, you have to adapt to what they prefer in terms of communication, right? So some people like chatting, right? Especially with the newer, generation, they don't like talking on the phone. They're like more shyer than people. Some people just like calling. So it just depends on their form. So make it simple for them, right? Make it simple for them so you can actually have that in place for your business, right? Building trust, right? Building trust with your website visitors, right? Adding testimonials, adding reviews, right? Showing real reviews, right? You don't want to fake these reviews. I see a lot of websites with fake reviews. Having certifications of the industry leaders in your space. Who are the manufacturers? Who are the people that actually manufacture these shingles that can certify you as a real business, right? That establish credibility, right? uh, Having clear and compelling call to actions, right? These are all things that really drive conversions. One thing that I've learned is that having headshots, right, with next to the actual image, next to the call to action, does make a big difference on the actual conversions. Having strong call to actions, I would really recommend a free inspection, free estimates, just something that's really just compelling where people can actually take action, right? That's something that what I see, right? It's going to drive more conversions for somebody just having like a regular contact us page, right? Um, Mobile optimization, right? So when we do websites, right, and anybody who's building a website should do this as well. They should build two versions of the website, a desktop version and a mobile version. So a desktop version is a version that is obviously for desktop, right? Typically it's, we have longer content, more content on there. Mobile version is actually looks more better on mobile. Actually, it makes a bigger difference on that side, right? So in terms of the mobile version, right, you want to have a fast loading website because ideally, you want to have a site that loads fast so Google can provide the information to the user. That's what Google's looking for, right? It really makes a big difference on the SEO side, right? Um, grant 10xing how to get more leads on with an offer, right? 10x Grand Slam offer. So picture the scenario, right? There's a lot of people that are actually getting traffic in the website. We have clients that are getting the same amount of traffic, right? One client is getting 1,000 website visitors a month. Another client is getting 1,000 website visitors a month. So they're getting the same amount of traffic, but one client is getting 5 times the amount of conversions versus the other client. What is the difference? Well, what we found is when we studied this, right? Because we actually did this and studied the reason. The reason why the clients that have an offer, a really strong offer, a 10x offer, have a lot more conversions, not only on their website, but on their ads, on everything they do. It just makes you much more simpler. So once you capitalize on the actual traffic you're getting, you have to make sure the traffic is actually converting to a lead, right? And that's what's going to drive people to an action, right? So in terms of the key takeaways of having a 10x Grand Slam offer, I haven't really seen any roofing company apply this, right? But these are just some offers you can do that really, kind of get people to convert. But basically having an irresistible offer where people are going to say yes because it's very compelling to say yes, right? Crafting a high value incentive, right? That differentiates you from the competition. Think about this today, right? As if you're a roofing company owner, right? And you're in Dallas, there's about 8,000 roofing companies in Dallas. So how are you going to differentiate yourself from the competition, right? People that are doing well and like in a market like a Dallas or Denver or even like a Miami market, they have testimonials, they have reviews, they have video testimonies, they have a nice looking website, they have like the trucks, the videos, all these different things. They already have all that. That's basic stuff. That's honestly basic business stuff that everybody business should have, right? It doesn't take a lot of brain power to come up with that. But what's going to differentiate you, especially as a new business? Well, having a good offer, right? That's going to make a big impact and allows you to differentiate yourself from people that are much bigger, right? So think about this in a creative fashion, especially as a service-based business, really can have a big impact on your conversions and sales, right? And then make sure you use this throughout. Yeah, use it on your ads, on your landing pages, on your max, on your all these different things that really make a difference, right? And these are just some examples, right? At the end of the day, these examples are really good, just really discount offers, nothing really compelling. I've talked to some clients. At the end of the day, some of them are very hesitant about this, but because at the end of the day, like I say, 100% of roofers are just not marketers, right? They don't understand marketing, right? Or just not business people, generally speaking, right? So it really makes a big difference in terms of how they can really impact the bottom line, right? So we talked about the website, right? So what's the importance of the website? If the website looks pretty, right? Spend a lot of money on it, but it's not getting any traffic, what's the point in having a nice website, right? People spend a lot of money sometimes on having a super nice website, but it's not driving conversions, not driving leads. Well, the key to do that is with SEO, right? So some people think they can set up a website and just pay a maintenance fee and oh, maybe I'll get some SEO traffic. It doesn't work that way, right? SEO is a something that compounds over time. It's a key to business growth. It's a key to improving the visibility. It ties in all the strategies together because if you do paid ads and SEO at the same time, it really drives more results, right? And basically, what you have to do is basically the foundation of SEO is content, right? Having good content, having content that provides valuable information to the user, right? Google, what they're looking for, this is on their guidelines, is the EAT algorithm, right? Expert, authority, and trust, right? That's kind of the guidelines they use. And that's typically what we do for our clients is that quality content, which is AI, human AI assistant, right? So when AI first came out, I say 2 years ago, into ChatGPT, right? Google was unsure on how to approach that, problem, right? So basically what's happened is that Google's kind of given up, right? They can't really tell. It's possible they can't really tell if it's AI or not AI, all that. Because they were unsure themselves now, they just open it up. They don't care if it's AI or whatever. Make sure you read like a actual reader can read and it's actually good content because you can create really good content with AI, right? So this is kind of the blog strategy, right? You want to be updating your website on a continual basis. And the reason why you want to do that is because you want to signal to Google that you're an active site, that people are actually looking for you, right? It provides positive signals with Google. It provides more impressions, more organic clicks. These are all things that really provide more durable business growth, right? So again, the day we typically we range in blog posts, right, from 10 to 60 blog posts a month depending on the package, right? And it's really important to do this for your business on the growth tab, right? Obviously, the other key thing, which is something that's been around for a long time, everybody should know about this, is backlinks, right? What are backlinks? Backlinks are basically links back to your website from other websites that, in theory, should improve the authority of your website, right? So, obviously, there's a lot of things you can do wrong in this approach, right? If you buy backlinks from a bad provider, you can really tank your website, or you can lose a lot of backlinks with the people that are linking to you, and you have the wrong URL. Those things that really hurt you. But obviously, at the end of the day, you want to have good domain authority, right? Which improves the quality and authority of your website, right? Those are all important things that really make a big impact on creating more visibility with your website, right? A big thing is technical SEO. So technical SEOs are things that you don't see, right? These are the page titles, the meta descriptions, how fast your website loads, right? These are all the schema of the website. These are all things that overall, on the surface, right? When you examine these websites, I haven't seen a single site that does not have issues with their technical SEO, right? Because This is something that I think a lot of people, even when doing SEO, a lot of SEO agencies just ignore, right? Just ignore, or they don't value as important. I'm telling you, it's extremely important because it makes really a big difference, right? We see a lot of errors with the technical SEO stuff. So these are things that can just fixing these errors, right, can really, you know, twice, double the amount of traffic you're getting in a short time frame, right? Okay, so we talked about the organic SEO. We talked about the Google Maps. Now let's talk about the sexy stuff, which is the paid ads, right? So this is what a lot of people come for. They want the short-term results. They want the quick hits. They want the instant gratification. They don't want to wait a long time for SEO, and it comes down to paid ads, right? So paid ads, right? We'll talk about Google Ads, Google Local Service Ads, and Meta. The number one paid channel today for roofing companies and really for all the contracted business that I've seen is Google Local Service Ads. Why? And the first thing you have to think about this is that it's number one, right? So when people search for a roofing company near them, right, Google's prioritizing those ads. Those are ads are the Google guarantee ads, right? So those ads you see on the top, right? Everybody should know them. I speak to people actually that sometimes they still don't know what this is. Google Local Service has been around at least I think at this point 6 years, right? 6 years, right? And in the last 3 years, they've become the number one source for online leads in terms of like paid ads, right? So basically with Google Local Service ads, right? You have to have a few things in place. You have to have your Google business profile set up. You have to have at least 5 Google reviews. You have to do a background check. If you're in a licensed state, you have to do a home improvement license or roofing license, and you have to submit your certificate of insurance. Those are all things you have to do. So once you have that, then you get a Google guaranteed badge and you're approved by Google's program. And in terms of getting leads, it's actually pretty tricky to get leads. It's highly dependent on location you're targeting, right? The category, the time of the year, but also very strongly on the amount of reviews you have, right? And this is an example, right? So this is one of our clients, Adam Quinnevo in Massachusetts. Just give you an example, 26,000 and they spent 273 leads, right? That averages out to about $95 per lead, right? And very happy with the results, right? And just Google local service ads. You can scale this, right? So you can scale this, right? The key thing about this is that these guys are targeting a big area. They have a ton of reviews. They've been in business a long time. So it's we can definitely do that, right? You don't have to spend, 26,000 or even get 273 leads, but even getting 20 to 40 leads is definitely doable with the right amount of reviews and leads, right? Another client is Rooftastic. These guys are in Georgia, right? The last 30 days, they spent 173 leads, averages about $205 per lead, right? So very happy with those results. Just showing you what's possible, right? These are real screenshots that are recent, just showing you that's actually possible to do on Google local service ads. Other thing I want to point out, and that makes really people happy, is that it's a pay-per-lead program, right? It's not Google ads where you're paying for the click, Facebook ads where you're paying for the impression, actual pay-per-lead program, right? So you will see if you log into your portal, right? If you're spending a lot of money, you're gonna get a lot of refunds, right? Where actually people like are calling for work, calling out of state, or calling for just irrelevant information or not a lead, then you're gonna get charged back, right? I'm sorry, you're gonna get your money back from those leads. So that's a good thing that you can do, right? So Google Ads, right? So we talked about Google Local Service Ad, which is number one paid channel. Number two paid channel is Google Ads, right? Google Ads have been around a long time. People know what they are. They're a very proven commodity to get leads. It's changed a lot in the last 5 or 6 years. When I started the company, just for your information, the only service I provided in the beginning was Google Ads, right? So that's basically what I offer our clients is Google Ads. And when I signed them up, I didn't really doing SEO. I wasn't doing Facebook. I was just doing Google Ads, right? And that was, I was actually getting really good results right away. Like you were getting results right away. Now it just takes a little bit more time, right? It just takes about 90 days to really optimize because all the AI features that it has, it just takes more time for the actual leads process to get in, right? So again, if you're doing it right, Google Ads is an intent-based platform. People are actively looking for services, right, in your area. They're actively looking for help in your area. And these are all things that really make a difference. So typically we use we use phrase match and exact match when we're targeting, right? You want to have a strong call to action. In terms of the landing page, right? You want to have a compelling landing page, really compelling offer, having a form, making sure it's correct, setting up conversion tracking, making sure that's correct is a big difference we see overall with that. Um, in terms of our return on investment, right? You want to be spending between at least $3,000 a month. That's probably a minimum what I recommend. 3,000 to even 10,000, 15,000, you could be spending a lot depending on the location, right? We see, cost per lead as low as $25, but sometimes typically I would undersell this is like between 75 to $150 per lead. High intent targeting, right? If you're doing it in the correct manner, exact match, phrase match, right? Targeting the right services, right? Roofing services, roof replacement services, right? Excluding unqualified clicks and unqualified buyers from, renters, job seekers, right? Non-homeowners, location-based targeting. You want to be targeting the right location, right? You don't want to be coming up for services in New York. If you're in Miami, that's obviously something you don't want to do. And then this is something that I will talk about not only with Google Ads, with Facebook ads, is really important is actually the nurturing system, right? How do you nurture your leads, right? Um, if you're doing this correctly, right? If it's inbound phone call, obviously you want to set up an appointment as quickly as possible, right? So you answer the phone, right? You answer the phone, you answer their questions, right? You sell them the appointment, right? You get the name, address, phone number, and have an inspection. A lot of roofing companies and a lot of industries and other spaces, they're actually doing Zoom appointments, right? Where they're actually going to the home where they can actually call people and do like 10 meetings in a single day. Makes it much more efficient, right? But also, some people are just not ready to buy right away. So you can nurture those leads. You can have email sequences, drip sequences, AI chatbots, right? Following up on the inspection. These are all things that really help you. Retargeting lost leads, right? Retargeting lead reactivation campaigns. These are all things that really make a difference on your lead generation efforts. When things are slow, these are things that can really make a big impact on the level, right? um, Setting up a Google campaign. So obviously, this is not going to be a webinar on how to do this step by step, but it's going to show you just key things, right? High intent keywords, exact match and phrase match, set daily budget strategically, right? Focus on profitable zip codes, exclude locations you don't want to target, right? Search ads typically with Google, right? There's multiple different ads you can do. There's search ads, display ads, retargeting, and also YouTube ads. We only really focus on search ads, right? We don't really do display ads. We don't really do partner networks. Display ads they bring a lot of spam. That my experience, right? So they kind of something I don't focus on, don't recommend, right? Just do search ads, which are the ads you see on the sponsor side, keyword based targeting, right? We do retargeting people that are searching for you. They don't get an ad. They can retarget them with an ad, right? These are all things that can help you. Um, Optimizing your campaigns, right? Having a good negative keyword list, making sure you exclude keywords that are people not relevant to you, right? Geo targeting, focus on high income neighborhoods. Another thing you can do is basically, I would be careful with this strategy, is bidding on competitor names. So when you do the strategy, you can bid for your competitor names, and typically you will get, good quality leads at a low cost. The issue is that you have to really be able to handle the phone calls that are coming in or the leads are coming in, because if somebody's answering the phone and they ask for a business that's not your business, a lot of times what I've seen is that they just, hey, okay, this is the wrong number, hang up, right? So you got to make sure you're doing that correctly. So I would be, careful and mindful of that. It's a potentially good opportunity. Just be mindful if you're gonna be doing that right? Um, you Creating copy that is urgent, right? Gets people to take action, right? Having good offers. These are all things that really make a difference on your campaigns, right? These are big things that make a big difference in your campaigns, right? Facebook and Instagram leads, right? So how to generate 120 high quality roofing leads per month. Obviously, you can generate a ton of leads on Facebook, right? The issue with Facebook is having high quality leads because the quality is not the best sometimes. So you have to make sure that you are doing this in a correct manner. So two big things, right? Having an offer that converts, addressing the pain points. What are the pain points that your customer is having, right? Put yourself in the homeowner's shoes, right? If they have the scrolling on Facebook, it's kind of a billboard type of advertising, right? How many ads do they get seen, right? How many ads are they seeing? So they see so many ads, right? There's so many roofing companies probably in your area that are advertising for roofing services. So you have to make sure that you are uh, advertising that it's unique, right? Have a unique angle, unique hook, having unique creative. These are all things that really make a big difference on, really big, making it big and making stand out, right? Uh, Budget and targeting, right? Having the right budget in mind, typically, 4 to 6 thousand. You want to be spending enough, right? Facebook is really gotten much more expensive in the last few years. It's still much less expensive than Google, but it still obviously works, right? So homeowners, right? So home affected areas, custom audiences, right? Basically, people that are website visitors, homeowners, all these different things that really make a difference. Retargeting is key, right? Most prospects don't convert in the first click, so retarget them to kind of create a nurture campaign. These are all things that really make a difference on your campaigns. And lastly, is basically having a follow up system, right? A speed to lead follow up, right? So most of the time on Facebook, it's going to be either a form fill, right, on the lead generation form or a landing page form fill. So you're making sure that you're following up with every single lead, having a system in place to follow with all the leads, multi-touch system, follow-up system, having a dialer, having a call center where you call them right away, auto booking appointments. All these are all things that really make a difference on the quality of lead. Speed to lead is very, very important, right? That's a big change that I've seen with Facebook, obviously, right? Also, Facebook has they have they have like lead phone anti-spam spam filtering now. So that's another feature that they have as well. So content, right? So overall with content, right? We talked about the offer, talked about the targeting, the content is extremely important, right? So with they're extremely important because it makes you stand out, right? How do you stand out in a crowded marketplace? How do you stand out if you're in Dallas? How do you stand out if you're in Denver, right? If everybody's doing the same ads, if everybody's offering $8,000, $129 financing offer, right? So you do this with really having creative offers that really make a difference, and having really good creative where you have your name, your business name, yourself, just advertising as a front person that really makes a big difference. I mean, at the end of the day, I've been doing this for a long time. Most people are not willing to give content. Most contractors that I talk to, and I understand because it's not the easiest thing in the world. But at the end of the day, it's really what drives results, right? If you have good content, right? Facebook is a content-driven system. It's extremely important. It's really what makes a big difference on the actual platform, right? And when I talk about Meta, I talk about Facebook and Instagram, right? A follow-up system, right? So like I told you before, speed wins, contacting leads within 5 minutes, instant SMS messages, right? Pre-qualification forms, asking the right questions, name, address, phone number, what type of roof they're looking for, all these different things that really make a big difference. Auto booking appointments, multi-touch forms, all things that kind of make a big difference on the quality of lead on the back end, right? Because at the end of the day, when you think about Facebook and Meta is just a billboard type of advertising, right? People are driving in a billboard, they see a billboard they like, doesn't mean they're actually looking for that actual service, but that billboard caught their attention. And that's what we really kind of think about Facebook. Somebody that catches your attention, right? So guys, I hope you guys like this. It's a 360 approach we talked about. We talked about Google local service ads. We talked about SEO, website, Google My Business, the map pack. We talked about reputation manager, how to get more reviews. We talked about Meta, right? The Meta platform, right? These are all things that really help you drive more business, more visibility on your ads. So if you guys want to learn more information, just click on the link below, roofingmarketingpros.com/calendar. We can talk about, one of our reps, national marketing consultants can talk to you, understand what your goals are, what your objectives are for your business. And this is a strategy we use, right? Strategy for you. You can use yourself, obviously. So I hope you guys like this information. We use, real case studies with real clients. If you want to, learn more about this, how we can work together, just click on the link below, just roofingmarketingpros.com/calendar. And I'm gonna ask. I do have a few questions. See if there's any questions on there. Anybody has any questions, just let me know on this. But I see I do a few questions on. Typically a common question I get is, how long does it take to get SEO leads, right? It really depends on the area, right? And depends on your existing profile. How many leads is your current website getting, right? It's a big factor, right? If people are actively searching for your name, then you can start getting leads, pretty soon. But typically the actual results, right, turn, you know, 6 months, right? 6 to 8 months. Everybody says that. Sometimes some locations take, multi-year effort, right? Just multi-year effort of actually ranking for the different keywords. These all make a big difference on your campaigns, right? But if you guys have any questions, just let me know. Any other questions? Um, Let me see if you guys have any other questions on this. I see chat. Um, Hope you guys like this. Any other questions? Okay, so if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm just gonna close it out, but just let me know. Just book a time with me and with someone on one of our team, and we'll talk soon. Okay? Thank you guys. Have a great day.